Hello everyone, for today's video I am making the Cryo Zane build. People have been wanting me to make this for a long time, but at the same time they've been wanting me to make a slaughter shaft build, or circle of slaughter is the actual term. They wanted me to make a circle of slaughter build, and I was able to combine them both, which is what I've been thinking about for a while, because you don't want to really use cryo on bosses, so this is very good for mobbing is a good term, or taking out ads rather than fighting bosses. So this is good for your trial runs. This is great for circle of slaughter, running through the story even. Whatever you want to do, this build is great, and you will not die if you run it correctly. So you could carry a 4-man definitely, I do believe. Like if all 3 other players were to die, if you are running this build correctly, you can carry a whole slaughter shaft. I did the whole thing without even going and fight for your life. So let's go over our weapons, and then we will go over the build. So, some of these weapons are choice. You can do what you want, but I'll explain on why they're in each slot. Now, the first weapon is the shock crossroad. You could replace this for any shock weapon. I don't even hardly use this. The only time I would use this weapon is if I were to run into those Nogs, right? The really high shielded enemies. Not even Guardians. You don't even need it for Guardians. It does help. But for Nogs are the most annoying enemies with shields. So that's the only reason I would ever even switch to this crossroad. Or if I went down. So you can use any shock weapon here. Shock shotgun, shock sniper rifle even if you wanted. Shock pistol. Doesn't matter what you use. You could go get a 9-volt. That's an easy shock weapon. Doesn't matter. Just have a little bit of a DPS shock weapon. It'll be great for the Nogs. Next, I run the Fire Butcher. You can use whatever you want in this slot. You can use a Fire Cutsman, Fire Crossroad. You want a high DPS fire weapon. A Lucian's Call is even decent for here. I'm running the Butcher because I enjoy the weapon a lot. A Fire Conference Call would be decent too. You just need something to take out Anointed. That's all this slot here is for Anointed enemies. And Goliaths, kind of, I guess. But Anointed are the biggest pain in the butt in this build, so you need something to kill them. That's what this slot is for. You need a strong fire weapon that deals really high DPS. The Butcher is taking that slot for me. There's many other guns you could try. The Cutsman is a great weapon for here too. I wanted to switch off the Cutsman. The Cutsman probably does this job better, but at the same time, I did want to take off an SMG too. Since we were running Crossroads, we're going to burn through ammo like crazy because you're going to be out there in that circle of slaughter for a long time. So that's why I'm running the Butcher, because it's a different ammo type and because it has really high DPS. If you haven't tried the Butcher yet, I suggest trying it if you do have the fire version in this slot. Next, we have our very high DPS cryo weapon, which I am using for the Crossroad, because the Crossroad's just really strong. On crits especially, if you can crit with this weapon, it's going to just break through enemies really fast. You're going to kill them. I use it on the hardened badasses a lot because it has it has good damage versus armor and health. So after you get the shield off, you can just go straight through them with this Arctic Crossroad or whatever your Arctic DPS weapon is. I would suggest a DPS shotgun, maybe like a Frost Butcher or a Cryo Conference Call. You can use a lot of things here, even like maybe a Chaos. Assault rifles really aren't preferred because you want something with really high DPS. You don't want just something that can last throughout. No, you want something that'll kill very fast here, just like the Butcher. You want something that'll kill very fast here, but in cryo version, to go through those armor-based enemies. Now, for the last weapon, I ran the Lucian's Call. This is actually the weapon I suggest the most, either the Rowan's Call or the Lucian's Call in cryo version, because with this weapon, you can infinitely crit enemies. And it saves a lot of ammo. Like I said, you're going to be out there in that circle of slaughter for a long time. And I bet if you guys have ran it before, you run out of ammo pretty fast. I was before I got this weapon. I actually got it mid-circle of slaughter, which was nice. But I was using the Fire Lucians here instead. I was also trying out the Phasure, which is another AR. It was decent. It did good damage. It's just the problem is it has to reload. Now with this Lucians, you don't have to reload if you can sit on the crit spots. You can infinitely just fire into... Like a Tink's head is what I like to use them on the most, is a Tink, because their head's really big. And when you freeze them, they sit still, and you can just infinitely crit into their head. And at the same time, you are ricocheting bullets all around the arena and possibly freezing other enemies, but also just DPSing them, which is great, because, you know, you're shooting maybe 300 shots into a Tink's head, I bet. when you're just constantly firing. So it's great for that. It helps out on damage, it saves on ammo, and it also cryos very good at the same time. If you can just sit on anything's head with this, you're gonna freeze it if it can be frozen. For our shield, I'm running the transformer. I do highly suggest this transformer. The anointed doesn't mean anything in this class. On my other builds, it does help, but on this class, it doesn't matter. We are running the transformer purely because you convert all shock damage to shield, which just turns off one element right there. You can also run up to shock barrels and heal yourself, which is nice. But it also adds that 40% chance to absorb bullets, adding them to your ammo count. That is great too, especially when you're doing the Bandit Slaughter Shaft and the Superstar, because you have a high chance of just absorbing their bullets, which negates all damage right there. So you're taking off 40% of the damage all the time. Right there with that. But the way I'm running this class as well is I'm making it so my barrier has the same perks as my shield. So I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe my barrier also has a 40% chance to absorb bullets, which is great. It'll negate even more damage. You can even absorb rockets, I've noticed, which is kind of crazy. Next, we are running the Prepped Cold Warrior class mod. This one just works really well with freezing. That's why I'm running it. You probably could run another one if you wanted. But whenever Zane freezes an enemy, a random status effect is applied to them instantly. Now what this means is if you freeze something, they could also start on fire. They could also take radiation damage. They could also take shock damage, acid damage. It doesn't matter. Like, any of those could randomly be applied, but they will be applied if you freeze something. So it's going to add some more damage to freezing stuff because you're constantly freezing stuff on this build. Next, we are running the Cryo Hex. This is actually the one I suggest using the most. Any version of the Hex that's Cryo. There's another Hex. I don't know what it's called. I think it's Recurring Hex or something. I don't know. Any version of the Hex that's Cryo, I highly suggest here because they're going to fly around like your drone and freeze things for you. And you need to constantly be freezing things to run this build. So this is the grenade mod I suggest the most. Any Cryo grenade mod will work, but the Hex is going to do the job the best. For our artifact, we are running the Elemental Projector Idol. The reason I'm running this is kind of for the bottom effects. It is nice where if you do get cryo during your fight, you could switch to your cryo weapon and you deal 183% more damage. I mean, that's pretty crazy, and it does come into play sometimes. When I notice I'm freezing, like I can't sprint fast or something, I switch to my cryo weapon and I get a nice damage buff. That's almost 200% extra damage. It's a short time, but it helps out a lot. You also restore your health whenever you kill something. That's going to be nice too to keep your health topped off, which you need for this build. I will go into that in a little bit more, but you want to keep your health topped off. This relic also gives me downtime and fight for my life, which I don't really go into ever, but it is nice. It's giving me cryo damage, which, I mean, you can't complain about that. This is a cryo build. More damage, the better. Shock resistance, that means absolutely nothing, obviously, because I'm running the transformer. So the cryo damage is mostly what I saw, and I was licking my lips wanting it. So that's why we're running this artifact, but the other effects do help a lot. You can kind of look around in your artifacts and just make the best judgment. You're not going to pick a bad one. Just don't run the Deathless, please. I was going to run the Deathless first, but it's better to run something without the Deathless. Alright, so for our skills we will go over now. My game loads. That was really bad. Okay, so we are running Sentinel Barrier on this build. So in the Sentinel tree, I tried my hardest to go away from the movement skills. Now, obviously, that's where Zane's damage normally comes from. But my idea of this build is you're not moving around a whole lot. You're just trying to stay alive. But there is still some damage perks in here, but I wanted to make it so you didn't have to rely on running around so much. You can stand still on this build and deal a lot of damage, which helps out a lot with weapons like the Lucian's Call, so you can just stand there and crit nonstop. So that was the idea of not putting any points into these two, because I don't want you guys to rely on movement speed. I don't want to rely on movement speed while running this cryo build where I'm trying to live, right? And Circle of Slaughter. We're not relying on max DPS right now. If you want that, you can go to my max DPS build, which also does Circle of Slaughter decent, but not nearly as efficient as this cryo build. So we aren't running any movement skills, so you don't even need to worry about running around. It means nothing to this build at all. You can stand still and shoot whatever you want. You can grab a sniper rifle if you want and just peg things in the head with it. It doesn't matter. We aren't worrying about movement speed right now. Now this is nice because whenever you swap weapons, you get bonus cryo damage, which you're going to be swapping weapons a lot if you're going to run this build fluidly. So you're going to be switching from your Lucians to your Crossroad, right? That's what I do a lot. And you're adding more cryo damage every time you tap that button. You can even do it purposely a lot just to add some more damage. It's nice. I go to my Butcher. I'm always switching between the Butcher, Lucians, and Crossroads. So this weapon's adding in passive damage I'm not even realizing. Now we're giving our Sentinel a chance to drop the grenade so we can have some more hexes out there. Or else just some reload speed, just some kill. This was a skill I really didn't care about putting on, but I did because I could, I guess. It does help with, like, I think we run 2 kill skills on this that even get anything from this. So, I mean, it does help with them, kind of, but it's not that big of a deal. The reload speed's nice. I always love reload speed because it keeps you just fluidly fighting in combat, especially on Crossroads where they have that longer reload speed. And same with your Butcher, you're going to be reloading it faster, whatever weapon you guys are running. If you guys decide to run the Cutsman, you really need this. It's vital because the Cutsman has really slow reload speed. I'm running the cryo shots on the Sentinel just to increase our cryo damage and chance. I'm also running the shield one, which is just specifically there to kind of take the shield off the enemies, but it also helps you keep topped off, kind of. It doesn't really matter. You could run Bad Dose if you wanted instead. It's up to you. I'm just running it to help take off the enemy's shield. In the Digiclone tree, Synchronicity is your big perk right here. Okay, this is what's going to add a lot of damage to your build, and with the class mod I'm using, Synchronicity actually goes up. So we have plus 28% gun damage per active skill, which we always have 2 active in this build, always. So we always have a 56% gun damage boost. That's not the craziest gun damage boost we can get, but it helps out a lot, and that's where your damage is coming from a lot. I put a few points into borrowed time just to make our durations longer. 12% if they're both out, which does help us. It gives us a little bit more of a window to refresh our durations, which I'm going to be getting to in a second. I put 2 points into duct tape mod just to give us a chance to throw a grenade while we reload, because Zane doesn't throw grenades on his own. So this is going to give us a chance to throw out those hexes to give some more freezing chances. I'm running Donnybrook because, I mean, it's a little bit more extra gun damage, and I mean, it works with the Reaper skill a little bit. It also gives us a little bit of health regen, but it's not really that vital to this build. It just adds a little bit more damage is the reason it's on. Alright, now this is the skill tree that matters the most to keep you alive. So we're running Adrenaline, which I run on almost every single build because the action skill cooldown rate is very important to Zane. Zane always needs his uptime on his action skills. He needs them always active. No matter what build you're running, you always want your action skills active. So I'm always running Adrenaline, and it works great on this because if we do run out of our action skill duration, which I'm still getting to, if we do run out of it, we have a lot faster cooldown rate to get it back. So that's why we're running this. It keeps you constantly using your abilities. We're putting this up just in case. Again, it's not that vital to this build, but it does help. If your barrier is not up, it'll keep your shield topped off. That's what we're running this for, and we have it at a very high number, so our delay is really low and our rate is insanely high. So our shield is almost always capped even when our barrier's down. We're running this where whenever you score a critical hit, you have a chance to freeze them. I mean, that's just self-explanatory right there, just some extra frozen chance. We're running this even though people saying this is bugged right now. It's still giving you 10% damage. It says 20%, but if it's bugged the way I've heard, it gives you 10% if your shield's full, which your shield is always full, so you're getting increased damage. You're also getting increased accuracy. I genuinely do not care about accuracy. I don't think it means anything in this game. I might be wrong, but I mean, when you use Gauge back in Borderlands 2, it was pretty bad when your accuracy was low, but I don't think it matters in this game at all. I haven't had a problem with any accuracy modifiers or anything. But it does help with it if you guys are skeptical and you think accuracy does matter more than me. You are going to get that increased accuracy and that extra gun damage just to add some more damage to the build. Next, we are going over Best Served Cold. This just adds a little bit extra cryo damage. When you kill something, it blows up and deals a cryo nova. Not that important, really, but it just adds a little extra damage. We got to get those little damages here and there to make it go a little faster, right? This skill I don't care about either. Elemental status effects applied to Zane have reduced duration, minus 50%. I don't really care. It's kind of counteractive versus our artifact too, because our artifact is making it so when we are cryoed, we're dealing almost 200% extra damage. So it's kind of counteracting that. But I mean, when you're getting shocked or you're on fire, I mean, it's going to half the time. So it kind of gives you a little bit more survivability. It's just really not that important of a perk in my opinion. I just threw it on because it only costed 1 point. Alright, we'll finish this. We got 3 more skills to go over. Refreshment. Whenever Zane deals damage to a frozen enemy, he regains that damage back as health, which is really nice. You're gonna be healing yourself while you're taking, or while you're freezing an enemy. So this comes into play more or less when your barrier's down and you're in a pinch and you can't get out of there or something. You can just sit there and hit a frozen enemy with your DPS weapon and you're gonna heal yourself through it, which will come in handy sometimes where you're cornered and you can't move. Freeze the closest target and just DPS him and you can live through it because you're going to be dealing such high damage. That's what this skill is for. It does help, and sometimes you do get hurt through your barrier through hardened badasses or any explosions, elements on the ground, barrels. Lots of things will still hurt you, and this will cap you off quick because you're always freezing enemies. Now, this is the skill that is really strong on this build. It's the reason this build even exists and keeps this build working. Whenever Zane freezes an enemy, his shield instantly begins charging. That's nice, so we always get charging. If Zane's shields are already full, he regenerates health for a few seconds. That's nice, so we can heal ourselves up to max. If Zane's health is already full, his action skill cooldowns and durations are immediately reset. Now that's kind of crazy. So if you think about it, if you're freezing enemies while you have both your action skills out, you'll always reset the duration, no matter what. As long as your health and shield's full, you'll always reset the duration to full if you can freeze something. That's why this build's more vital for Circle of Slaughters rather than bosses, because you can't freeze bosses. You can freeze things inside the boss arena, but you're not worrying about that. This is for Circle of Slaughter, where you're always freezing targets. If you can keep topped off, you will always get your durations back, and you could almost have 100% uptime on your action skills, which is going to give you more damage with synchronicity. It's going to give you even more duration. It's going to give you so many extra benefits, more chance to freeze, a higher shield, and the perks on the shield we're still going to go over. Now this skill, I know people say it's bugged, so I can't confirm you that it's working the way I'm expecting it to. But Zane's barrier gains the effect of his currently equipped shield mod. Additionally, shield effects are applied to all enemies near the barrier. Bonuses to Zane are reduced. So, from what I'm understanding from this, is my barrier is also getting my transformer skill, which is going to give me shock resistance and bullet resistance, which is great. And it's just going to make it so we're topped off on health on top of it again, and shield, and we can't get damaged by bullets. It's just great. That's just how I'm imagining it's working. If it's not, then this is kind of a wasted point. But if it's working the way I'm expecting, it's helping out the build a lot. Now, the passives we're running, it gives us a 360 barrier. So we can't get hit from any direction while our barrier's up, which is great. Every direction's negated while your barrier's up. Except for your feet, it seems like. That's where the explosions hurt you from. But every direction is blocking you with this barrier if it's up, which your uptime's almost max while you have calm, cool, and collected, because you're not getting hurt, so you're always capped off on health and shield. And when you freeze something, boom, your duration's back, and you're covered the whole time anyways, so you shouldn't be taking like nearly any damage. You're negating over 90% damage just with this 360 dome, the shield combo, and all your other perks coming into play. And I also put enemies that touch the barrier take shock damage and are staggered. That's not that big of a deal, but if you really want to use it, just go run into something. You could deal some shock damage. The only reason I have it on is the skills on this side of the tree. The barrier has to be down to be active. So I am not going to run these because I'm relying on my barrier being on me. If you were playing with friends and you want to play more of a tanky side, you could run some of these and all of your friends could sit inside the barrier. And as long as you're freezing things, you'll keep that barrier up, and you can give your friends these buffs. That would be nice in a Circle of Slaughter if all your friends are playing with you. I play solo, so I'm running it with these ones on the side. But you always need this dome one on. This one down here, you can switch around if you want to play with the shield on the ground. It still works fine with it on the ground. The only problem is if something comes into the barrier, you can be damaged from it. So there you go. That is the Cryo infinite shield build, I guess. I'll go over my guardian tokens quick. I mean, I have really high guardian tokens, so I'm gonna deal a lot more damage than a lot of you. So that might be why you're not keeping up on damage. And also my survivability's up because I have all the perks. Stuff like this helps a lot. Action skill cooldown rate increases while at full shield. So you should be trying to get max guardian ranks. It's gonna help you out a lot in any build, but you can still run this without these guardian tokens. It just helps out with little things like delay and gun damage. Now I'll show you some gameplay in the slaughter shaft to show you how to run the build. Here we are on the slaughter shaft round 5 with the Cryo Zane build. I haven't died this whole time, and our challenges are neutral. There's no up damages here. There's no decreasing damages. I wanted neutral challenges to try it out. So we're on neutral challenges in the slaughter shaft round 5. Let's go. Pop out the drone first because it has the longer time. Here you go, the Lucians, man. If you can hit those crit spots, you just like infinitely fire. And you can keep freezing stuff around you because you're ricocheting bullets. And you know, every time you freeze something, you reset your cooldown time. So now for the bigger enemies like this, you're gonna need your DPS weapon to take them down, which is my Frost Crossroad at the moment. My Fire Butcher would have been fine too. I prefer Frost Crossroad because it gives me a higher chance to freeze them. Now for little tanks, tanks are the greatest because if you just freeze them, you can just sit there and crit. Just sit there and crit non-stop with the Lucians. You ain't using a single ammo. Bam. Look, dead. Easy. No problem. Now these guys are the really big issue. Kill them as fast as possible. Even over every other enemy. You want them done. Because they're explosive rockets. They'll go through your shield and damage you. Bang, like so. Here's another one. And Cryo deals good against health and armor. So after you get the shield off, your Cryo should go right through them. But I don't even switch to a shock weapon to take the shield off because, I mean, I'm already dealing enough damage if I can hit that crit spot. Another legendary. What'd you get? Shredded fire. This comes a problem right here. Yeah, we ain't gonna get our shield. So when I don't have my shield ready, I just go and hide. I wait for the cooldown. Because without your shield ready, you're gonna be in a world of hurt. If you get shot or damaged at all, your cooldown time's gonna be crap. Just because of Adrenalize. So, yeah, if you don't have your shield up, you need to hide. And I use the Butcher on these guys since they're flesh-based. Yep, see, the shield's gone again, so we have to go hide. You can't really freeze Goliaths. I don't know if you actually can, but I'm never able to. We got another hardened over there we gotta go take out. Every weapon does have a chance to freeze with some of our skills, so you could, like, Butcher just a normal enemy and freeze him like that. Doesn't really matter that much. The Lucians just saves you ammo because you're gonna burn through ammo really fast in here. Especially when you're with friends, because I mean you're gonna be carrying them with this build. And killing 4 times the enemies kind of sucks. So the Lucians is good for that. I try to use it as often as I can. Now with our relic, we deal increased elemental damage if we're suffering the same element, which we are currently. So using a cryo weapon while frozen is amazing to do. These guys are also bad. Anything that shoots explosives, you need gone immediately. I'm gonna go freeze this guy. There we go, we got them both frozen. Our shield's down, we should be hiding, but I think we're all right. There's no high DPSers here. Got normal tank there. You also deal a lot less damage without your abilities out because of the synchronicity. It's that infinite crit. Fire Lucian's Call is good too, but with the cryo one, you have that really high chance of freezing. You also can deal damage to armor. With the fire one, you can only deal good damage to flesh. We gotta freeze something right away in the beginning of this. Yep, keep our cooldown times. Crossroads is my main freezer just because of the high DPS on it. Just stay on those crit spots. And I'm freezing stuff around the area too that you can't really see, but it's ricocheting everywhere. I actually didn't have this weapon when I started this shaft. And I was saying, because I was using my fire Lucians, and I was like, man, if I had a cryo one, it'd be so amazing. And then it dropped. I couldn't believe it. The chances, man. Oh, we got some hardened up there. Boom, we got that freeze off quick enough to save our duration. We're about to lose our shield.
Say hello to the great beyond for me.
Yeah, don't handicap yourself when you're gonna do these. Like, try to get decent challenges at least. You don't need no up damage ones, but don't do anything that's decreasing your damage. For trials and bosses, it's not that big of a deal, but for shaft, you're gonna be in here a long time, so don't make it too hard on yourself. Unless you want the challenge, I mean, by all means, go ahead. But if you're having a hard time, it might be because of your challenges. Yeah, we are running out of ammo. There's a legendary. You get a lot of legendaries from this, and I'm sure that's why you all want to run it. You really do. I mean, look, I'm playing solo. You're going to get a lot more if you're playing with people. Just solo, I'm getting a bunch. So if you, I mean, farming Cutsmans, Crossroads, Lucians, any kind of weapon you want, this is going to be a good place to get it. It drops all kinds of weapons. I've even seen some butchers in here already. Try to freeze them. Oh, we must have been hurt because it didn't save our duration. It'd be cool if there's a skill that, like, when you get critical hits, it helps your duration, but not in this character. Maybe someone else has that. I don't remember, but Zane don't. You also heal yourself. If you would have noticed there, when you freeze stuff, you heal. So I got like my full health there because I was able to just keep hitting them. It's only on frozen enemies, but it helps out. Keeps you alive. That's the only reason I didn't run the Deathless. I was going to run the Deathless, but I noticed there is some health healing skills. So it's actually more beneficial to have your health bar. To keep you alive more. Because your drone's flying around healing your shield, and then your frozen ability is going to keep your health up. I hate these enemies right here so much.
Get over here, you brute.
Anointed are the worst, though. You see an Anointed, I just leave it till the end of the round. I don't even try to mess with it, but I try to keep him last alive, and I just butcher him. Hopefully we'll have one to show you off what I'm talking about. Oh, yep, there's an Anointed right there. Like I said, I'll take out everything else around the area, and then I'll take out the Anointed. You don't want to fight him with everything else around. He's already so hard to kill. You don't want everything else pelting you, because you're not going to keep your uptime, because you can't freeze Anointed. Yeah, and you can't deal crap damage to them, because you're cryo build and they're flesh based. I mean, if you had a fire Cutsman, that's going to be the highest DPS on these guys for sure, but I really like the Butcher a lot, and that's why I'm running that. It's just good for normal use, plus we don't want any more SMGs on this class. With those Crossroads, they're already draining ammo really fast. My drone don't do anything here, but it's helping my synchronicity so I can deal more damage. But you can't freeze them or take their shield, so it's not really helping anything, except for our damage. Also increasing our duration from that one skill. Where is he? There he is. Bang.
this line.
Oh, this is the last wave already. Not bad. I haven't ran these very many times. This is only my 3rd time doing this. So I use bosses for legendaries. Oh gosh, we're gonna lose our shield. Yeah, we lost the shield. We need to get out of here. But we reset it right away with our skill. Okay. Lucky. You cannot stand around and tank damage without your shield. Or your barrier, I guess I should say. We are running out of ammo, so I'm gonna try to butcher and Lucian's more. Freeze this enemy. I'm missing a lot of bullets because I can't see everything because of the explosions. Oh yeah, that's not gonna do crap on him. We gotta do the Lucian until he's down to health at least. There we go. Now let's try to butcher him. Oh, he's on the ground. Freeze him. Alright. We're just gonna butcher through it. Let's hope there's no more anointed this round, because we might run out of butcher ammo. Freeze him. There we go. There's the freeze. We saved our cooldown time, or our duration time. I just messed up the terms. Butcher him the rest. I mean, when you freeze him, you can hit him with anything you want. It's not like it matters. You can't freeze him again. You get the health benefits no matter what gun you're using. Look at how fast these guys drain my shield and health when I don't have my uptime on my barrier. Any switch targets? Oh, it's not going to be fast enough. Dang it. We're getting in trouble here because we can't have our uptime. What is that thing? Never saw that target before. Holy crap, he's tanky. This might drain our butcher. Oh crap. Yeah, we're in trouble. We're not being able to keep our shield caps, so we're not able to uptime our barrier. Oh, he's gonna run around and kill everything, huh? We need to kill him. It's like a super Goliath. Ooh, that hurt a lot. Oh, that was a boss. That would explain. It just looks like we got some tinks left. Yeah, this is crap. We're keeping ourselves alive by hitting the frozen enemy. I'm just gonna stay right on his crit spot. Killed the other enemies just from the ricochet. Bang, there you go. There's Slaughter Shaft, round 5. We didn't even go down to fight for your life at all, did we? Awesome.